Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with week 1 of September, going over the weekly deals that we have at the distribution level, as well as talking about the current pricing and outlook of the Wilds of Eldraine, which we've just concluded our pre-release here at Gone Rogue Games. It was a pretty good showing, and we actually had quite a good turnout for sales and everything, and it was overall pretty good. So the market is looking up for Magic the Gathering. This is typically what we see at this time of year. This is when everyone's back in school, the summer's winding down, and this is just the best time, at least for me and in my experiences elsewhere, for Magic the Gathering sales is up from now up into about Christmas. So I am expecting Wilds of Eldraine to continue to sell well. I think the Enchanted Tales are good slots for this set, and this set actually feels like a master set with the inclusion of things like Smothering Tides and Doubling Seasons, but we'll get to that. First up, I want to give you a behind-the-scenes kind of look at what I provide at my Patreon, and maybe it's a good fit for you because we are trying to grow it, because this is a little bit of a shameful self-promotion here, but one of the goals that I have for my Patreon is the more patrons we get, the better deals we can get, and overall, it's just better for everyone. I'm trying to grow this operation and then allow everyone to get better pricing, and that way we can be a player in this market that's been quite unstable. And so I think with the more of us in it, the more stability we can offer. And yeah, so it's kind of a you scratch my back, I scratch your back operation. And I'm just blown away by the support by all the people that have been with me for quite some time. But it is time for me to start thinking about scaling it and offering more. And I really wanting to give a lot more insight into the market and give people some of these exclusive deals that they can actually pick up on. So I'm going to give you kind of the behind the scenes look. If you do sign up for my Patreon, you have access to some market analysis I do on here, as well as our Discord service. It's just a plethora of knowledge for various deals within the market. Like, it even goes beyond what I do personally for my subscription service. We have a lot of people there that like to talk with the market or will post deals that they find on the different platforms like eBay and Amazon. So I think it's worth it just for that to sign up so you have Discord access. But one of the things that I do each week is I go through the distributors and see if I can find any deals and then get my analysis on whether or not those products are good buys. So let's start off with the ones this week. So the first one we have is going to be the March of the Machines Aftermath Collector booster displays. And these can be picked up for $80. Now this is the Aftermath. Let me make sure everyone understands that. Aftermath. Aftermath was considered one of the most disappointing releases of all time because people just didn't get the product. I also was just scratching my head after opening a few of these, and uncommons are like super duper common, and then the expensive cards like the different art treatment in foil are actually quite rare, and those are what's holding up the value of these sets. But you just get so much of these uncommons, you just get flooded with the uncommons. It almost is a feel bad experience because you just have piles of certain cards, and then you're still chasing like one or two cards that are super rare with this. But these, I can't remember the original price for these because they've been dumped so many times, but $80 is a steal for these suckers. What they're going for right now on TCG Player is about $100. They have dropped, so they must have been up to this price. Yeah, what were these? Now I can't even, it's been so long, or actually hasn't been that long since this set was released, but they were selling for the 150s at its release, so I gotta assume, geez, they're all the way up to 220 at the point. This was kind of the price point at the distribution level, and they've fallen all the way down to 100. It does look like they have started to stabilize a bit. If you look at the sales history, it dipped below the 100. Now we are pretty stable at the 100 mark. A couple of those at like 94 and whatnot. There are a lot available from sellers here. The movement that is pretty lackluster, but there are some good things, as I overview here in my post, that this is going to be legal and standard for some time. You don't know if standard ever be picked up as like a format that they're going to be doing with like Pro Tours and maybe big Grand Prix, where a card out of this set actually becomes popular and then it sees play. And there are a lot of cards in March of the Machine Aftermath that I do consider to be really good in Commander and have good demand in Commander. And there have been sets also like the I'm trying to think of the Innistrad alternate version that actually just had the black and white ones. Why can't I think of the set that came out with that? Again, they're so forgettable that I can't remember what they're even called. But that was such a stinker of a release too, and then those really rebounded in price. So I don't know if Aftermath's going to do that in the future. It's such a tricky market right now. We have no clue what's going to be the winners and losers. But you got to think back at even things like, you look back at Amonkhet. That was such a crummy time period in Magic the Gathering. No one was purchasing Amonkhet booster boxes. And then fast forward, that's one of the best accruing value of a set for out of all that time period, just because no one was buying it. So it could be the same with Aftermath cards. Again, if you actually look at the set, there are some expensive ones in there. As you can see, like the Obnixilis Kingpin goes for $65 in Nissa. They see a lot of play. The Calyx just got started to go up in value because their enchantments matters in this Eldraine set. And so and I think there was some other cards printed in even Lord of the Rings that spiked up this sucker. So Calyx is starting to go up. That gives you another chase card to go after. And all in all, there are some good goodies in here. Training Grounds. Yeah, it's not like the worst product ever. It's not like a product where there's nothing to be gotten out of it. There are plenty of things that are, worthwhile long term. However, it just was such a confusing product, and that led to no one really wanting it. And again, if you ever open these suckers up, it's just like, geez, the amount of uncommons you get is just staggering. So well, $80 though, it's still a pretty good spread between TCG Player and what price I can get them for. I was limited on how many I could get these last week, so I might have to limit them per patron. However, this is a deal that seems to be the best one of the week. So next up, talking about March Machines, this is just going to be March Machines itself. Is going to be the pre-release kits, and I actually like this one. So pre-release kits usually cost me around $17-18 a pre-release kit. After you pay all the distribution fees and shipping. This is going to be down to $14, and you can actually get a box at $210. And it's the same thing. This is a pretty good spread on TCG Player because they're going for 18, 20. Looks like 18, 20, 21, 21, 20. Looks like they've been going for about $22 on average. That's what the market price says for the pre-release kits. So that's a very good spread, actually. But what I like more about the pre-release packs is they do have the March of the Machine, or they have the Multiverse Legends cards in them that I think will age well because there's some really good ones in the March of the Machine Legends. You have the Ragavan and Atraxa. These are cards that, I mean, there aren't many cards that are more popular in the scope of things than these two cards. Like Ragavan seeing so many legacy and modern play, and Atraxa being the most played commander of all time. And then you have also things like Elesh Norn. This card has had hefty price tags at one point. Same thing with like Skithrix. This card unfortunately just keeps getting reprinted in master sets and everything, but eventually when Wizards of the Coast realizes they can't keep doing this, they can't just keep devaluing all their cards over and over in each set, I think that they'll give some breathing room to a lot of these cards. Or what we're going to end up having to do is these just won't be like targets for a while because there'll be, shiny other cards they're going to start going after. That's the one good thing about Magic the Gathering. The more cards they print, the harder it is to reprint that specific card because there are just so many other cards to reprint. Now, Wizards of the Coast did a hold my beer when I predicted this last time, saying that, I don't care if there's a little bit of more product being out there, they can never keep up with the amount of cards in existence. But Wizards is like, nah, we can amp it up and we can reprint things like crazy. So I think it will be coming to an end, though. I think that the Commander Masters is going to give a hiatus for a master sets for a while. And then I think they probably still will be trying to do this with standard sets, but they actually might be scratching their head and being like, maybe this isn't the way to go about standard sets by having the chase being all these like expensive reprints. If we want to have any sort of cash out in a master set in the future, we're going to have to, forego this and just really try to concentrate maybe on standard, having cards that are good for standard and trying to really support that format rather than trying to get people to buy it out of, commander players trying to chase for Elesh Norn or things like that. So again, I think that this is looking at these prices with all these cards, like Elesh Norn, Skithrix, Shoulder, these are cards that hit $30, $40, $50. Vorinclex at one point in time, Aurelia. I mean, these are classic cards, and in their different frames and different borders, you'd think that they would start going up in price in the long term, and then we might be looking back at these particular products, like these standard era products that did have these specialty cards in them. And yeah, they just might be gold in the future is what I'm talking about. There's some really, really good ones in this Multiverse Legends, and you do get one per pack. So that actually makes these pre-release packs look very enticing at the $14. We're going to end up getting like 6 of the Multiverse Legends in that, and you do get a pre-release foil. You do get a little spin down dice that buy lists for 25 cents. If you don't know about that, there are places that do actually pay for spin down dices, for bulk spin down dices for 25 cents. All that kind of stuff adds up and makes these pre-release kits pretty good. Now, in the past, pre-release kits used to really do well long term. That really isn't the case now because draft boosters continue to be something that just gets outclassed with expected value, and just, you know, the eyes are all on the set boosters and collector boosters. But it used to be, and I think of the past, that the pre-release kits would definitely outpace draft boosters and other products in their time periods, because there's always people that are wanting to be picking up pre-release kits just to play them. And it was just a fun product to pick, you know, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road. If you missed the pre-release of a particular set, you could go back and find these things. And they actually make pretty good collector items. I talked about this in a few other videos, that is where a lot of the money is starting to move. A big shout out to my Gonero Games channel. I talk about kind of behind the scenes at the store and kind of give my off the cuff type analysis of what I'm thinking about in the day. And that's what I've been noticing in my store and in a lot of movement on TCG Player and eBay, that people are foregoing with collector boosters. Like, okay, I don't want to do a $200 purchase, and like, well, what can I pick up that I can, you know, collect, that, you know, long term, that I can just keep sealed. And they're going for things like bundles and pre-release kits, which is very interesting because, you know, if the market starts shifting that way, these end up being a pretty good, you know, long-term hold or short-term flip, or just very fun product to play with at this time. That's one thing that I do want to focus on with my service as well, is I definitely want people to start playing the game again, rather than, you know, this is an investment. I have no problem with people like using this as, like, again, holding some boxes back. I think that if you're not really in the game, if you don't really know the market, it's kind of a stupid thing to do. If you have no clue what these products are, I think there's better, you know, investment strategies to you know, go into real estate, go into stocks, go into whatever. But if you do love the game and you want to, you know, collect things long term and put things, you know, in the closet for a future date, I like pre-release kits. I think they're great. I think that they will age well in the long run. The next up is going to be the March of the Machines Commander sets. Now, this is kind of a, this is really the product that's up in the air. So this is a product that's quite unique because it does have the planes in them. And in the past, those, you know, the planar chaos, the dies, the cards, they actually sold for a pretty penny. So you can't really compare March of the Machines commanders to other commanders because there is that bit of uniqueness. This one was kind of a stinker, though, in the scope of things. You can see it's not that great of a spread as what I can get it from at 158, 160 is what they've been going for. And it still cost me like 126 is how much it will cost me from the distributor. And I think the normal price of this is like 145. So that's not even that great of a deal, you know, discount. And it definitely isn't that great of a spread, comparatively speaking, to what they're going for on TCG Player. And to make matters worse, like I said, this is just a stinker of a set. There's Uncivil Unrest, which is like a $10 card. But after that, you're like really scraping with, you know, Colonial Hydra. And I think some of these even got recent reprints too. Vanquisher's Banner, Chivalric Alliance in here. But again, the value is really in these planar cards that in the, you know, the past they have sold for quite a bit, as they are another way to play the format, and they're very popular with our casual players. It seems like every play group has a set of these, and you know, they'll play the planar chaos every once in a while in their commander group. So actually, I'm looking at these. There's not, yeah, I mean, it's pretty awful, but at least every deck at least contains like over a $5 card. But the value is just not in these. There's a $13 card. Yeah, I guess these ones aren't as bad as some of them. I mean, there are some commander decks. I'm thinking of Crimson Vow has one that doesn't even have a card. I think the most valuable card in one of the Crimson Vow is Soul Ring. The $1.38 Soul Ring is the most expensive card in the entire commander lot. But this is kind of the problem. They've really oversaturated these products. That's another thing that I talk about right here in the commander sets, is like, if you look back at Commander Legends, OG Commander Legends, and like Kaldheim, so those commander sealed products, even though they don't contain value in them, they still sell for quite a bit. And I'm thinking that players are starting to go back and saying, okay, I missed this commander. And there are a lot of, like, I don't want to call them lazy, because that's probably not the right terminal. Well, it kind of is. It's like people are like, well, I want a new commander deck, but I don't want to build one, or I want something to start off of. What's a good green-blue commander? And then they go back, it's like, okay, this I've never picked up this Commander Legends one, and they buy it, and then, you know, the scarcity starts to set in, where these products are actually, you know, quite scarce comparatively speaking to all the other products out there, and then they start going up substantially in value. I've noticed that with, like I said, the Kaldheim and the, I believe, Commander Legends. There are some expensive ones. I think Zendikar Rising has one too, if I'm not mistaken, where those were commander decks that also were blown out in their time because they just printed way too many of them. Unfortunately, we're in an era where commander decks have like a shelf life of like 3 weeks, like 2-3 weeks when people actually buy them. And then as you can see, this is a good indicator too. I mean, look how many have sold in the last month. There's like, besides this person that bought 20 of them, I mean, you have like what, 10, 12 purchases. And that's pretty pathetic in the scope of thing on a huge platform like TCG Player that only that many of them have sold. Now, again, these are the entire set. If we were to go in and look at specific decks, we'd probably see a different outlook. And if you can actually go back to Commander Legends, there are March of Machines. If you actually go back just to the solo products, you can see like there's a $60 one. 27, 36, 32, 31. Maybe if we click on the $6 one, maybe they will still see a better. Yeah, okay. So yeah, these are selling a lot more as just a solo commander. It does seem to be a product that still does move at a substantial rate. So again, it's a product that I definitely keep my eye on. But typically you want to see a product that does have the EV that sort of matches this. And then this product just, most of these commander products are pretty crummy. In nowadays and age when you try to compare them to other products that contain value in them. So another commander deck that is such a roller coaster. This is the Warhammer 40k commander decks. And this one, it was well above the 200 when it was first released. It had an allocation that was quite low. I remember being very disappointed because I was not able to get a lot of these 40k commander decks and definitely couldn't meet the demand that I had even locally and then the patrons as well. It was just, I couldn't get my hands on enough of these. And then it just kept coming wave after wave after wave. So I'm not certain if Wizards of the Coast did this on purpose with their initial wave and was just slowly releasing in the ecosystem, or if they're trying to squeeze out as much value from this IP because they do have, I believe there are some, like they have the IP for like 2 years or something. So they can say we can do more print waves as we see fit. And it might be like they've actually have done more print waves of this sucker. I haven't seen like massive waves. Like I said, it was just trickled in for a while. And then I think distributors have become, saturated with them because stores quit picking them up because new shiny things came out. But I do like the Warhammer one because I was wrong about this. I didn't think that a lot of the Warhammer players were also Magic players or would want to actually buy, a Magic deck. And Lord of the Rings also surprised me. And these are still things that locally sell quickly here at my store. I think I'm like, okay, I'm done. No one's going to want more Warhammer decks. And they just continue to sell and continue to sell and continue to sell. And these ones actually do have pretty good, decent cards in them. And like I said, I was very surprised by these IP type stuff selling. So I'm thinking the Warhammer decks could have a recovery. They've been quite stable for quite some time now. Again, that's not the greatest margins if you're going to buy them from me, and the market price is 180. But our cost is what, going to be down to 170. Yeah, it's a very, very razor thin, especially if some of these are shipped at the 180. So where we were here. Yeah, they do have shipping included. Not the greatest thing though, but at least it'll be something that is the same price after shipping if you get them directly from me. But it is a product that I could definitely see aging well. The thing that is not aging well is the collector's version of these. Those have definitely fallen from grace from their original highs of, what were they, in the 600s, 700s for the collectors. But again, I think the Wizards just milked the whole foiling process so much that no one really cares anymore. Even though it's the only way to get the foils of this particular thing, it's like, okay, if a curled foil deck versus, at that point, it's only good as a collectible to hold in a closet somewhere, rather than these ones that actually function as cards that can be shuffled without curling. Anyway, rant for another day with that. Next up, though, is a product I definitely want to showcase. This sucker's just been going up, up, up. Now, it is still down from its initial price. Like, I think these were like 82 or 84 when I originally ordered them. When they were first allocated for Baldur's Gates. But these were blown out for something like, I think I could get them for 59. 59 was my lowest I could ever get these Baldur's Gates for the set boosters. They were just crushed because no one cared about this product. But lo and behold, I believe a Baldur's Gate video game was released. I'm not too up on this stuff, but the prices have just kind of, I don't want to say shot through the roof, but at least this has been a crappy product that no one had faith in that has gone up in the last couple months. You can see this price trajectory here. It's gone up quite good from 78 to 89 is the cheapest one now that you can get on TCG Player. And if you actually scroll down, it's not a lot of supply until we get to this 105. So this is actually a really good deal to get into, and this is this isn't bad for a product that this is this old, that we have to scroll down just to even get out of this week for sales. And so yeah, I'm expecting you to actually see this nice little 83, 71. They've gone up, up, and up, and who knows, maybe it's going to start approaching 99, 95, 100 within the next few weeks. Draft boosters I actually can't get from any distributors anymore. I think it's out from my main distributor. I can get it at a much higher price that they still have it at the regular cost that originally, because there's some distributors that don't ever change prices. They're just stubborn with it. But yeah, I'm very surprised with this product. Apparently there is positive EV for this sucker, so meaning that you can actually open up set boosters and get your value back, which is incredibly rare. And this is going by TCG market price over cards over $2. So it's like cards you can actually move and sell and make your money back. So that's incredibly rare in this day and age with a positive EV, and apparently Baldur's Gate sets can get you there. Speaking of Baldur's Gate product, this one's I'm a little more bullish on, is the Baldur's Gate Commander. 105 though is cheaper than they were originally going for. There are some interesting things like a $15 Jeskai Will and a $25 Black Market Connection that are contained in this set. But all in all, again, this is an overprinted. They printed a ton of these commanders because it was a commander set. So it was geared towards commander players. So not only was the entire set based around commander, there was more of these printed than, say, something out of a standard set. So you can see, though, that these are looking stable now. It did have a little bit of a spike a few months ago, but it's gone back down. But it does look like it is stable. If you look at the sales history, it could still be going down slightly, though. It looks like 149. It does have a lot more movement, though, in these sets. As you saw last time with the March of Machines, it was, even though it's a more recent product, there was less of these being sold. And again, I think it might be because of the video game that came out that people are like, oh, I'm going to pick this up. I remember Magic. I played Baldur's Gate. I'm going to play this. So it's got new eyes on it and got a kind of renewed vigor for this product. And there isn't a lot on TCG here until you get this first one that is selling it for 145. So again, I don't know if I'd go crazy on this particular product because it's been at 105 for quite some time on sale. But again, it's another one that is interesting, and apparently this one can be broken down if you're good with bulk. If we look over here at like the commander prices, I should have zoomed in on some of these prices here. Yeah, there's not a lot of huge things in here. Mutavaults. Actually, yeah, it's not bad. You do get like another, what do they call in these commander decks too? They give you those sample packs, and these sample packs can actually be quite good. You can get some expensive cards out of them. So, yeah, interesting time for Magic the Gathering. Like going on to this too, like beyond Magic, we have Pokemon is having a lot of specials here and there. Scarlet and Violet booster boxes usually have a throw-in if you purchase one. I don't know if people are Pokemon fans that watch this channel, but I'm pretty skeptical with Pokemon. But even people, if you watch Alpha Investments, he is actually, he's bullish on this product. He thinks that we're going to look back at Pokemon from this era in this lull and then be kicking ourselves that we didn't get in on these deals because the prices aren't coming back down. Like, they've increased. Pokemon just had another MSRP raise with Paradox. So it's just a few bucks, but I did notice they increased that slightly again. So a discounted box on Scarlet and Violet, comparatively speaking to the distributor price, I think that most distributors sell these boxes for 105. Like, I think I'm getting them for 100 plus a freebie. So if you buy like a Scarlet and Violet box, they throw in like I think it's like an Electro box, which usually is like a $13. So you're getting like, yeah, you're getting $118 worth of distributor cost products for $100 is what it comes to. And again, those products are, people that really want to put in the elbow grease have been able to make those products work because you can actually buy list off the giant cards in them. You can actually buy list off sometimes they come with pins, and of course the promos and packs in there. Like, everything has value in the scope of thing. That's another market that apparently is hot, is the kind of the bulk cards. And like, there are a lot that it just goes to show that in 2020 through 2022, a lot of the eyes were on the expensive products. And I think that both Pokemon and Magic kind of pushed the envelope with things like Magic 30, or Pokemon had a lot of like specialty sets also that were released. And now it seems to be that there are a lot of people that just want to kind of experience cards in general without like breaking the bank. And so there's a huge market for these like bulk lots and bulk cards that has been pushing up the price of bulk. So these are things that are worthwhile to look at if people do want to put in the elbow grease and, break down products and look for kind of the like I mentioned in one of my videos, when everyone's zigging, maybe it's time to zag, and maybe this is where the money's to be had. But I mean, it's a lot of work. It's not as easy to do, and you really have to have an eye for it, know what you're doing. Speaking of other things like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an absolute dumpster fire right now. There are plenty of specials at the distribution level, comparatively speaking to what they used to be selling for. However, if you actually go on TCG Player, eBay, man, everything Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just being blown out for nothing. It's like everything's lost 75% or more. It's just in terrible shape. I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! I quit carrying it in my store. The only thing that I ever carry is a missed order or a damaged box. I'll open them up and fill my dispensers up, and hopefully over the course of 2 years I'll sell some Yu-Gi-Oh! I just want to have it in here too, so I can be like legit game store that has one of the best-selling card games of all time. However, like, it's in terrible shape. And speaking of another terrible shape, the D&D line is awful as far as the books are concerned. I'm seeing deals everywhere. So just PM me if you are looking for that type of stuff. I'm not going to post about it here, really, kind of waste time trying to talk too much about that. That's one of the things I do offer on my Patreon service, is you get a direct line with me as well to communicate. So if you ever like wanting for what I talk about today with people, 8-foot table mats. I was looking up some some other games that I've never even heard of from Wise Shores. There's lots of things that I want to kind of be, as much as I can, of course, your kind of one-on-one experience to help guide for anything from supplies to table mats to any, like, what I really like, my favorite thing to do is to supply small play groups that don't have local game stores. That way they can actually save some money, get everything they need, and I can kind of be that one-stop shop and that kind of like confidant in being able to run a group and things you can do to actually harbor a good play group. So anyway, that's really what I had to talk about this one. I think we'll go to Eldraine prices in a second. One thing I do want to highlight here is this is something I've seen a ton of movement, is supplies. So supplies have been selling like crazy. Now, of course, Lorcana coming out, but I don't think you can just say, well, Lorcana just ate up all the sleeves and binders and stuff like that. There has to be still a hot market and all the rest of them. I have noticed a lot of binders going out of stock, a lot of sleeves like Dragon Shields but KMCs and katanas are impossible to find right now. Things have been moving as far as like the perfect fits, and same thing with deck boxes. Deck boxes from the Gamegenic line and the Dragon Shield line have been, a lot of like certain SKUs and colors have been going out of stock. So those are things that are good indicators that the TCG world is still very healthy. The big problem is that Wizard of the Coast, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Have all overprinted. They continue to think that we're in an era of the lockdowns and free money and people bored, and they keep printing into this when it's gone. We will never replicate that scenario unless there's some other crazy event that happens. But what they need to go back to is the tried, tested, and true eras of all these have 30 years of experience, and go back to kind of catering to that market rather than wishing for days of the past where it was just insane demand, where everyone and their dog was buying trading card games. So anyway, supplies though, knowing that they are still on par, they're still doing quite good sales and are still selling out of stuff to the point that they need to hurry and resupply them. Like, typically supply companies are good at judging it and be like, okay, we need to do another wave, you need to do a wave. They want to have things available. They've got themselves in trouble a few years back when they overprinted supplies into like some of these TCG booms, and then they were oversaturated with it, and it was a very competitive market too. That was the biggest problem, is there was so many supply companies coming up all at once. However, now that they've got this nice little equilibrium going with like Gamegenic and Ultimate Guard and Dragon Shield, and knowing how much they're selling, they're actually the supply's been outstripped, and they need to hurry and do the remanufacture stuff. As far as I know, there isn't any major supply issues going on like overseas or whatnot at the point. So what this is showing me is trading card games are still extremely hot, but that doesn't make up for the fact that these companies like Wizard of the Coast and Yu-Gi-Oh! And whatnot have just been just been crazy with not being able to reevaluate what their actual demand is. Like, I've talked about this in so many videos on the Gone Rogue Game channel, that there was just, I don't even want to know how much money from the crypto markets, or the like the free money and the fraud from the loans and everything that was just pumped into the collectibles market. And it's just all the stupid posts on all these market, like these magazines, and not trading card games. It's talking about just business magazines and stuff, talking about there's so much money to be made in collectibles, and it just brought a lot of toxic money that didn't know what it was doing into our kind of hobby. And it's just we're still trying to, like the chickens have come home to roost at this point, and it's just people have gotten out of it. Like they've taken their misguided investments and just dumped them back on the market, and it's going to take a while for everything to just kind of equal out, where demand can start outstretching it. But supplies are a good sign, is what I want to talk about in my long-winded, I shouldn't do these videos 11 o'clock at night after playing a full pre-release. Anyway, here we go with Wild Eldraine's pricing. Like I said, the sales look really good with Wild Eldraine after the pre-release sales and whatnot, which is a good sign after Double Masters was so awful. So bundles currently are at $28. This is slightly less than the pre-order price. We have the Wilds of Eldraine Collector's Boosters at $190. Those have been selling pretty well in the 200s on TCG Player. The Commander decks are $115 per case, or you can do like $58 per set. And the Draft Boosters are still $97, set boosters $103. Unless I have to use alternate distributors, then they'll be about $100 or $105. Typically, I don't have to use alternative distributors. There's exceptions for that. And then we have the Wilds of Eldraine starter kit, which I do actually need to do a video on these starter kits on this channel, because there is some opportunities with some of the older starter kits to actually have positive EV by breaking them down and by listing the cards. Anyway, this has ended up being a way longer video than I was planning on. Hope that people do enjoy the more long-winded talk of the market here. I'm going to try to do a lot more shorter videos on this channel and give you some more updates on specific card singles. We'll be looking at Wilds of Eldraine, specifically the Commander decks, and looking at some hidden gems. I don't want to miss out on the next Conduit of Ruin type cards. Like, I used to do that. That was my bread and butter for this channel, is to call those before they actually spiked up. And it's pretty, it's pretty consistent with these releases of Commander decks of what cards are going to spike and what ones aren't. So I'm going to get back in the swing of things. I've started to get everything established here at the store in a streamlined to where I can start doing videos more. And this is fun again. And it's been a long time since doing videos, and kind of talking to people and promoting things was fun. I want to get back to it. So if you do like this video, be sure to give it a like and a subscribe, and I highly, highly encourage you to check out that Patreon. If you're not a big fan of Patreon, we can do other ways too. Like I said, I just want this to be a big community where we all kind of pool our money and resources and knowledge together to get good deals. And I mean, that's the way we have to do it this time, to kind of compete with the big dogs that just are just crushing everyone at this point. So got to beat them at their own game, I guess, and kind of unionize. That's the best way to say it. So helps me out. It keeps my lights on. It keeps me motivated, and it saves you money at the same time. So I appreciate everyone that has signed up or has just at this point liked the videos and kind of spread the love. Anyway, this has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Be sure to check out my other channels, the Rogue Deck Builder, and especially Gone Rogue Games. There's some fun stuff that happens over there. Thanks for watching.